Hello world, it is Monday, July 24th, 2023, and looking out the window at Defiance, it's a beautiful sunny day, but it is warm and humid. Temperatures are already in the mid 60s. I think it's going to get in the mid 80s. Seems a little hazy outside, but I don't know if that's the humidity or smoke from the wildfires in Canada or not, but be careful out there. And it is going to be hotter this week. I think it's going to be in the mid 90s by the mid part to the end of the week. The devotion for today is entitled, It's Getting Hot in Here, apropos, by Molly Baskett. Molly bases the devotion upon Psalm 19, verse 6, English Standard Version. The sun's rising is from one end of the heavens, and its circuit to the other end of them, and there is nothing hidden from its heat. And then Molly writes, a scientist in my former congregation, John, and I used to get into friendly arguments about what the most crucial moral and spiritual issue of our day was. I said it was poverty and its precursors, racism, income inequality, and extractive capitalism, because they caused untold suffering. He said it was global climate change because it was certain to escalate and expand that suffering. The progressive Christian and climate prophet Bill McKibben recently warned that as the weather system known as El Nino returns this summer, swirling into already warming trends, we are in for a new record global temperatures that will spark novel forms of chaos. Ever the hope stoker, McKibben went on to say, I don't say all this in the service of despair, but of preparation. Each of these surges in warming comes with new political possibilities, as people see and feel more clearly our peril. John, Bill, and the psalmist were right. From Portland to Houston to Boston, nothing and no one is hidden from the sun's heat. Nor is there respite in the oceans, which are warming even faster than scientists predicted. We are those proverbial frogs sitting in a pot of hot water. The fact that the pot is suddenly coming to a boil fast might, in fact, be a gift from God. The disaster God is using to help us remember our legs and jump out. And the prayer. Sunmaker, we know you can't turn the heat down. We must be the answers to our prayers on climate change and its novel chaos. Scare us into leaping before we are cooked. Amen. Well, as I read this devotion, I thought of a couple different things, and one is the connection between climate change and poverty. I live a relatively privileged life in a Western capitalistic nation, and at best, I'm impacted by maybe some higher cooling costs. I have the privilege of having air conditioning in my house, and I also have a swimming pool, so I have ways of dealing with the heat. And at best, it causes me some minor inconvenience as I have higher utility bills and higher costs to keep my pool from turning green because of the added heat. But it really impacts people living in poverty far worse. I was just reading an article this morning about flooding in Nigeria and the impact it's having on that nation, most of the people of which live in extreme poverty. They talked to one farmer there who grew kava root, which is a food source. And in a normal growing season, he would harvest 5 bags of kava root. I'm not sure how big of a bag, they didn't really say, but 5 bags of kava root, each of which he would sell for $65. That was his source of income, 5 times $65. That's what he lived on. With the flooding that occurred last year in Nigeria, he was only able to harvest 1 bag, so a fifth of what he would normally harvest. And the flooding also destroyed the roots that he was keeping for the planting for the following year. So he has almost nothing to plant for the coming year. The impact on him and his family is much more severe than it is on us. And if we're truly living by the Bible, according to the story of Genesis, humanity was given the responsibility of caring for God's creation. When God was finished, The Bible says that God said it was good, very good, and it's really up to us to try to keep it that way. Those are the things this devotion makes me think of. We have the opportunity, especially those of us who live in extractive capitalistic countries, to really make a difference by changing our consumption habits. Also, I think it's important to understand that a lot of companies that work in extractive capitalism, such as oil companies, coal companies, companies who extract resources from the ground, mineral resourcing, never really truly pay the true cost of that extraction. They don't pay for the materials they're taking out of the ground. They pay for the labor that it takes to do it. But then they never pay the downstream effects of their efforts. I think I read a few years ago that there was something like, it was either 50 or 80,000 abandoned oil wells in the United States, which are basically Superfund sites that oil companies abandoned. They're causing problems with polluting groundwater and cause excessive cost to our government, who is then responsible for cleaning up that. So the profit that the oil companies make is really a false profit from that standpoint, that they never really pay the true cost of what they extract. And we're part of that system, so it's up to us to try to work to change it. You may be getting something else out of each devotion every day, this one included, and that's okay. These are just my thoughts, but I hope it gives you something to think about and look for ways that you can live into helping to build God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. I hope to talk to you again tomorrow.